What's up, everybody? It's good friend Lukie, and I'm here to break down the mega fight that just got announced. It is between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford. I'm going to go through a very basic understanding of the fight and then kind of give you my quote unquote expert analysis. Let's begin. As always, if you enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment, and if you're listening to this on my newsletter, be sure to share it with a friend because I think it's a pretty cool, knowledgeable community that we are building, and that would really help. And if you're a newsletter fan, go to the YouTube so you can see my face. I don't just hide behind the computer, you can see me. So, Canelo Alvarez has probably been the biggest name in boxing since Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather stopped being full-time active fighters and carried the sport. Yes, Pacquiao is fighting on a pay-per-view this year, but he's not carrying the sport like he did in the aughts and really in the 2010s for a good portion of that decade. Pacquiao and Mayweather were two of the mega fighters that led to that fight in 2015, where when they fought, everybody was watching because they were just so relevant and so interesting to see. So Canelo is kind of an extension of that era of boxing. He was the young kid when they were established veterans. Now he's becoming the veteran, the older fighter. But he had a great run from 2019 to 2021 in which he became an undisputed champion. Before that, he had fought pretty much everyone in his era. He defeated Gennady Golovkin 2 times. The first fight was a draw. Some people find that contentious. Fought guys like Arislandi Lara and Austin Trout at times when people felt Canelo Alvarez shouldn't have fought those guys in his career. Took a lot of risks early on, and now you could argue he's in that Mayweather point of his career where he's taking less risks and he's more of a businessman at this point. To be fair, he's earned that point. Terence Crawford, on the other hand, has just kind of been greatness under the radar until recently. He was pretty much the best lightweight, went over to overseas to beat Ricky Burns. Then he becomes an undisputed 140-pound champion, an undisputed 147-pound champion by beating the other great of his era, Errol Spence Jr. And now he won a belt at 154 that I'm forgetting about against Israel Madrimov. And now he is trying to do the unthinkable, moving up to 168 pounds to vie for his third undisputed title. It is the battle of the two most relevant American fighters historically, probably from a historical sense, of the last 5 to 7 years, the guys that made the leap to the next level, those that are first ballot Hall of Famers. So it's Crawford fighting Canelo. The weights didn't particularly make sense, but the money makes sense. Terence Crawford has a supreme confidence about him, so much so that, as crazy as it is, I'm going to show my hand in this. I see two fighters in two different mindsets. I see Canelo, who's an extremely talented fighter, amazing defense. He's got an ability to slip punches and be offensive off of his counter punches, which sets up big shots, really works for him. It's an amazing style. It's a good style. But he's had trouble with movers. He had trouble against Lara. He had trouble against Trout. He figured out these problems, but he still had problems. He had problems with Billy Joe Saunders at times, trouble with Caleb Plant. The thing is about Canelo, though, you're not in the ring with him, so he'll lose rounds, but he's really winning rounds, if that makes sense. So against Caleb Plant, some people thought Plant was winning the fight, but he was applying pressure to tire Plant out to really pick up that pace later in the fight. I really saw Canelo take over that fight in the 6th round, and the scores were arbitrary. I think I had Canelo up at the time of the stoppage, but I saw him weaponizing a pace to to force the other fighter to engage. Crawford's very unique in the sense that he kind of reminds me of a Ray Leonard type fighter, and I'm not old enough to have probably seen most of Ray's fights, but what I mean by that is Crawford has the ability to box you and fight disciplined, but if he has you hurt, he's going to go and look for the stoppage. He's a dead game boxer, for those that know what I mean by that. He's looking for the stoppage when he has you hurt. He's going to finish. Canelo seems at peace right now with his career, and since losing to Bivol, he hasn't taken those risky fights or those impactful fights. It always has felt like he's had a slight edge going into each contest. Whereas when you look at Terence Crawford, he jumped into that Errol Spence fight. Even the Israel Madrimov fight is a very risky fight. That was a tough fight. He's constantly taking tough challenges, moving up, and he's doing a hack, I think. And Mr. Pullman brought this up on our recent podcast, but I think he's doing a hack that is very smart for championship level fighters. He's giving something up in regard to the weight, but he's not losing motivation because he's now trying to become a 3-division undisputed champion, something unprecedented. We've now seen 2-division undisputed. Now we're going to look to see a third. He's constantly setting new goals to motivate him in the sport. Whereas Canelo Alvarez is a 2-time undisputed super middleweight champion, but really his second crowning of being an undisputed champion was very underwhelming. We don't hear people talk about it because his fight with William Skull, some people believe William Skull won the fight. I just thought it was a dreadful and uninteresting fight. Canelo didn't engage that well, and he didn't look all that interested. I wonder where Canelo's motivations are leading into this fight. This is a historic fight, but Canelo's made a lot of money, and he probably has a fairly comfortable life. So what motivates Canelo against Crawford? Is he enticed by the legacy? I think that when you look at these two fighters, Crawford's someone where you can pay him a lot of money, but I think he's motivated by the legacy and his place within the sport as an all-time great. I think Canelo's solidified his place as an all-time great. You could argue that maybe he's even the greatest Mexican boxer ever. I think those small motivations right there are going to tell the difference in the fight. And though it sounds crazy, I think Crawford is going to beat Canelo Alvarez. It makes no sense if you were to look at it on paper and say, okay, here's the smaller guy and he's going to move up in weight. But if you look at him, physically, he's not that much smaller than Canelo, although when they get in there, Canelo's going to be a bigger guy than him. But I see Crawford as the fighter who right now wants it more motivated. The performances he's putting out, albeit he's not all that active, he fights once a year, but I see a guy who's just so much more motivated than Canelo, so much more, I wouldn't say relevant, but he's staying around young, hungry fighters who are in the gym with him. I know Canelo has a team and they're there, but I believe Crawford's in a gym, a crowded gym, wherever they are in Omaha or Colorado Springs, and there's young fighters pushing around him. Canelo might have that same environment, but I think that there's a culture around Bomac and all these guys, Crawford, that really he has to set the tone to not get outworked by the younger fighters. And I think that's going to carry over to this camp. Whereas Canelo, I think, is kind of starting to turn into a retired fighter in front of our eyes. I don't see the same guy from that run from 2017 to 2021. He doesn't have the same attributes. I think he's a very underrated fighter in terms of his historical accomplishments. Canelo carried the sport, really impressive achievements. But if you're asking my initial thoughts, who would I pick right now? I pick Terence Crawford, because every time you doubt Terence Crawford, you end up looking stupid. So I'm tired of doing it. I only did it once with the Errol Spence fight, and I'm going to take Terence Crawford leading into this. What are your initial thoughts going into this? What are the storylines? What are the things you're most interested? Why don't you leave a comment or tell me about it, and we can unpack those, because we're going to have a lot of time to break down this fight from now till September.